Thank you. Thank you for keeping me in this session and sharing complications happening with the microkeratomy. We are lucky now that we are not getting enough complications, but definitely the complications are the part of surgery and they can be there with the same microkeratomy also. I was trying to have the virtual background, but there was some problem, so I'm not using that virtual background. Please pardon me for that. I don't have any financial disclosure for this talk. However, the complications whenever happen, they actually cause more of a problem rather than financial benefits. And you're not able to sleep, you're not able to eat, and have a lot of tensions. And sometimes, unfortunately, you may end up with having consumer protection issues. The common complications are the buttonhole, the free cap, thin cap, irregular or torn flap, corneal perforation, which is rare and I think it is only reported in literature. Epithelial defects, limbal bleeding, interface debris may be left over at the end of the surgery. These are the intraoperative one. The postoperative one can be DLK and microbial keratitis. As you have heard the first talk that the keratomes have improved a lot, but initially definitely there were some issues. So I will just like to give a warn that people, whenever they feel that the corneas are not normal, rather than doing LASIK, you can have other options of refractive surgery, which may be a surface ablation, femtolaser, or implants of the ICL or phakic lens. So whenever these conditions are there where you feel the complication can happen, better to avoid to create a microkeratomy flat. The common conditions are the flat cornea, steep cornea, very thick cornea, deep set eyes, small pupil aperture, very anxious patients who are not allowing to have a suction. If you are losing suction again and again, and if your suction is not achieved as the parameter, because every keratome have a parameter in which once the suction is achieved, then only you should start the path. Always do some preventive checkups. They are very, very important. Always inspect the blade, even if it is a new, because sometimes there can be a defective blade. Always do dry run of microkeratomy in the ring. Backward and forward movement should be very smooth. This can avoid the complications, and reuse of the blade, though sometimes it is required and some people do it, but it may have a set of complications. So prefer not to use it. Always follow the nomograms for making the flap. Don't use your sixth sense that in this case, though it is looking very abnormal cornea in sense of a very small, deep set eye, very thin cornea, very flat cornea, but I'll be able to do with my experience. These are the things not to be done because we are doing surgery on the normal eyes. And option can be chosen like femtosecond laser or the surface ablation. Intraoperative complications related to the microkeratomy are reported in various ranges from 0.03 to 2.6. This is the picture I have taken from net from courtesy Dr. Nitesh that whenever you are passing through, you can have a flap buttonhole. You can see a large buttonhole in the center, and this is because of the buckling of the cornea when you are applying vacuum and passing on the keratome. This is also not very common nowadays, but this has been there in my initial days. Three cases I had, and now we are not having them last for 10-15 years. But this is common with the steep cornea. Loss of suction can be there because of the loose epithelium or loose cornea, or there was some problem in the microkeratomy itself. The defective blade may be one reason, and the poor blade quality, as I said, the inspection of the blade is required because sometimes the edges are chipped off, and because of that also you can have this kind of situation. See, steep cornea, just to show the picture. Whatever happens, what you can do is that should we do laser or not to do? Because there is a large buttonhole in the center itself, you can't do the laser because it will not achieve the refractive correction the way you want. So it should not be done. The risk of epithelium ingrowth is very high because it is difficult to realign the buttonhole flap in a very perfect manner. But meticulous cleaning and meticulous approximation can prevent it. The risk of other complications, DL can melt is there. Irregular astigmatism can be created because of this. So before doing any further laser ablation, be sure that it should get stabilized. It is not enough and it is correctable by laser. Otherwise, avoid this surgery in the future also. Some of the patients can be taken up after 3 months for this. But the buttonhole on the table itself should be meticulously cleaned and approximation should be done. And the flap should be adhered. It should be make sure. These kind of flaps are not like a normal flaps where you can just do a 1 minute or 2 minutes watch and they are enough. You require to give more time for STRIA test, and it should be done repeatedly. And you can use the buttonhole, you can use the BCL in case of buttonhole or complications related to the flap. The another complication which is common one, the free cap, it is the flap which is created, in which the flap created was smaller than before the hinge it stops or it comes completes. So because of this, there is a free cap. You have a cap which is separated, not attached to the cornea by the hinge. In these cases, the laser can be done if it is of adequate size. Again, the causes are mainly the defective blade, wide to wide. This diameter of the cornea is having a mismatch with the suction ring, and sometimes because the sclera is also too flat, the suction achieved is not enough, and you can have a free cap. Common with the flat corneas, and it can be common with the sometimes rarely with the very steep corneas also. The laser ablation can be done if it is having enough ablation zone, and luckily now the laser ablation is done in a very limited zone. The optical zone 6 and the transition zone is around 1 to 2 millimeter maximum in the majority of the machines. Initially, it was there with a large optical zone and a large transition zone. So the laser ablation can be done if you feel that it is to be done only in the bed, not on the epithelium of the remaining area. The pre-operative marking is very helpful in approximation at the end of the surgery. So whenever you are in doubt, you can use definitely the marking. As the previous speaker says that the marking is of big help in all patients, but gradually we give up and we don't do because we have done many cases. So we feel it is an unnecessary step, but definitely it is a big savior in these situations. Whenever there is a free flap, keep them flap in the anti-desiccation chamber to avoid drying. Otherwise, it will be difficult to replace. And orient the flap properly that the epithelium should be above on the surface, anti-surface, and the stroma should be adhered to the stroma. If rarely the flap is lost and it is of enough size, then ablation can be done and you have to apply the bandage control lens. Sometimes the flaps are too thin, and nowadays we are planning to make thin flaps, but thin flap means around 100 micron, not less than that, because with the microcroton flap, if you make further thin, the center, because it is a meniscus flap, the central part is too thin and it is difficult to handle and manipulate. And sometimes it can give just strap because of that. Though in myopic patients, it may be advantage to maintain the remaining stroma in enough size. So incorrect size or parameter not following is the main reason of having these kind of things. Incomplete or torn flap, the pictures can be like this. I have one video to share. That this video is of an incomplete flap and torn flap. Luckily, not mine case. I received this patient from my friend that he said the patient was very uncooperative and at the end he could not have enough good size of the flap. So he stopped the procedure. He didn't do a laser ablation. You can see a teeth-like, tongue-like structure, triangular, which is not actually cut, and the rest of the flap is cut. And next day when we received the patient, there was a lot of epithelial problem issues also. This is all loose epithelium you can see. So we scraped off this all loose epithelium. We scraped off the epithelium around the area of the cut also to prevent the epithelial ingrowth. And that is how we can prevent the ingrowth complication. And this flap was reposited along with the triangular flap very well. And we avoided laser doing in this case. At the end, BCL was applied.
I'm really sorry to be interruptive. Dr. Virendra, I request you to please conclude quickly.
Yeah.
The time is
so
up.
I will just complete. These are the common complications, but these all common complications can be avoided if you use the keratome in a proper manner. Means you should check them before, do a dry run, and if you do a meticulous cleaning of the flap and other things, then the post-operative complication can also be avoided. So dry run is a very, very important. Only do a keratome flap making only in cases which are very fit. So my cutoff is 41 to 46. If the corneas are more steep than that, I don't do keratome nowadays, and less than 41 also I don't use. With the Moria, we initially did even 40 also, but with 40K, there are some chances that the flap may not be very good, so I'm avoiding nowadays. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr.